이게 너무 글씨가 작은데요? 근데 다행히도 돋보기가 있으니까 우리가 가까이 해서 오감도를 읽을 수 있습니다. 네, 사실상 이 오감도라는 작품은 신문에다가도 연재가 되었는데 금방 중단이 됐어요. 왜냐하면 많이 복잡하고 난해 보여서 많은 비판을 받았는데, 입장 바꿔보자면 초야말로도 큰 상처를 아마 받았을 것 같아요. 근데 이거 다 관리하는 게 쉽지 않았을 텐데요. 관장님.
네. 잘 보고 계셨어요?
네, 반갑습니다.
네, 반갑습니다.
근데 관장님, 저는 이 모양 어디에서 많이 본 것 같아요.
네. 요거는 합천 해인사에 있는 8만 대장경을 본따서 만든 겁니다.
맞아요, 맞아요.
그러니까 8만 개의 경판들이 이렇게 꼽혀 있는 모양으로 이 선생님 작품들을 이렇게 아카이빙해 둡니다.
너무 예쁘게 해놨네요.
네.
저기 뒷공간이 뭐예요?
네, 여기가 바로 이상의 방이라는 공간이고, 이상 선생님 실제로 사셨던 방은 아니지만 네, 소설 날개 속에 어둡고
네.
컴컴한 나의 방에 대한 묘사를 직접 꾸며놓은 공간입니다.
그럼 빼놓을 수는 없죠.
네.
네, 영상 잘 봤습니다. 그러면 여기 계단을 올라가면 또 다른 공간이 있는데 위에 뭐가 있는지 한번 볼게요. 그 뒤에는 산 하나 보이는데 이게 인과산입니다. 여기는 뒤에 오시면 인증샷 하나 찍어주시는 게 강추해드립니다. 최근에 이상의 작품집도 이제 영어로 번역이 되었는데 한국 최초로도 미국 스칼리온의 상도 받았다고 합니다. 네, 그리고 이 상은 사실 살아있는 동안 그렇게 유명하지가 않았고 경제적으로 또 많이 가난했지만 끊임없이 자기만의 세상을 펼쳤기 때문에 새 역사를 쓸 수 있었던 것 같아요. 아쉽게도 이 상은 우리 곁에는 더 이상은 없지만 여기 서천 골목 이상의 집으로 오시면 그의 흔적이 남아있으니 많이 찾아와 주시면 대단히 감사하겠습니다. 여러분, 이만 인사드리겠습니다. 바이바이. 자, 피디님, 이제 밥 먹으러 갑시다.
fans from all over the world. Local consumer prices continue to hover at the 2% rate in April. Turning to robots to allow the visually impaired the chance to better indulge in cultural experiences, like the number of hybrid cars are registered in South Korea has surpassed 2 million using its locally developed Yuri rocket.
Arirang.
Hello and welcome to our morning edition of Arirang News. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. South Korean tax authorities are now looking into e-commerce giant Coupang, following the company's massive data breach, which affected millions of customers. Officials are focusing on possible profit shifting to Coupang's U.S. headquarters, which fully owns the company. Lawmakers clashed at the National Assembly as the opposition People Power Party launched a filibuster, while the ruling Democratic Party moved to pass a bill establishing a dedicated trial division for insurrection cases. U.S. President Donald Trump appointed a special envoy to Greenland, sparking a fresh row with Denmark and prompting concern from the European Union. This comes as Trump has repeatedly argued that control of the island is essential for U.S. national and economic security. We begin this morning with South Korean e-commerce giant Coupang and an investigation into the company by the National Tax Service following a recent personal data breach at the end of November. Authorities are now examining possible tax evasion as lawmakers prepare another parliamentary hearing. Our Park Eun-woo starts us off.
National Tax Service officials left Coupang Fulfillment Services, Coupang's key logistics subsidiary, carrying boxes of documents before loading them into vehicles on Monday. The inspection followed the deployment of around 150 NTS investigators after preliminary data analysis suggested possible tax evasion. The team includes officials from Investigation Division 4, which handles special tax probes, as well as the International Transactions Division, focusing on possible profit shifting to Coupang's U.S. headquarters. Authorities are examining whether Coupang reduced its domestic tax burden by excessive royalty or technology fee payments to its U.S. parent company. A two-day parliamentary hearing is set for December 30th and 31st, involving 5 standing committees, including the Science, ICT, Broadcasting and Communications Committee, to address issues including the recent data breach. The Land, Infrastructure and Transport Committee will also review whether Coupang's courier business registration could be revoked, depending on whether it meets land ministry standards. While political pressure continues to mount, it remains unclear whether Coupang Inc. Chairman Kim Bum-seok will attend the hearings. Lawmakers could consider strong measures, including additional legal complaints and the issuance of a compulsory attendance order if Kim fails to appear before the National Assembly, as was the case last week. And with no official statement from Coupang issued yet regarding the probe and hearings, attention is now focused on the company's next move. Park Eun-woo, Arirang News.
At the National Assembly, the opposition People Power Party has launched a filibuster as the ruling Democratic Party pushes to pass a bill that seeks to set up a special tribunal dedicated to insurrection charges. Our Kim Do-yeon reports.
Tabled at last, the ruling Democratic Party introduced to the floor of the National Assembly on Monday a contentious bill to create a special tribunal for insurrection to deal with issues arising from the prosecution of former President Yoon Suk-yeol and his aides for their failed martial law bid. However, proceedings are stalled as the main opposition People Power Party has launched a filibuster to block its passage. The Democratic Party is adamant on passing the legislation to thoroughly punish those involved in the martial law declaration. They argue the current judicial leadership, specifically Supreme Court Chief Justice Cho Hee-dae, is biased, necessitating a special structure to ensure fair accountability. However, there were concerns over the bill's constitutionality when the idea was promulgated, but the DP claims that they have been resolved.
Discussing the future without clearing up the insurrection is like building a sandcastle. This revised bill removes unconstitutionality and danger. Above all, its strength lies in blocking the influence of Supreme Court Chief Justice Cho Hee-dae as much as possible.
Under the revised bill, dedicated panels will be established at the Seoul Central District Court and Seoul High Court. To ensure the Chief Justice cannot intervene, the revision empowers a meeting of judges at each court to determine the tribunal's composition rather than court leadership. The bill also includes a grandfather clause allowing the former president's ongoing trial to remain with his current bench for the first ruling. The People Power Party immediately began a filibuster condemning the move as an anti-constitutional attempt to judge shop and seize control of the judiciary.
This is where impeachment motions passed 3 times and the lifting of martial law passed. But what is happening now? The Assembly is denying the very Constitution it created and is attempting to unilaterally pass unconstitutional bills.
The Democratic Party has already moved to terminate the filibuster, ensuring the debate concludes Tuesday morning. With the party's supermajority, the bill is effectively guaranteed to pass immediately thereafter. Enactment appears certain as well, with President Lee Jae-myung having already signaled his support for the special tribunal. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
North Korea has opened 5 new hotels near Mount Paektu as leader Kim Jong-un pushes to develop the area into a flagship tourist city. The regime's state-run Korean Central News Agency said on Tuesday that opening ceremonies were held over 2 days in the Samjiyon tourism district, with 2 hotels opening on December 20th and 3 more on December 21st. Kim attended the event in person, touring guest rooms, restaurants, and swimming pools, and praised the facilities for combining practicality, variety, and artistic design. He stressed that service quality and staff professionalism should be the top priority. Kim also vowed to further transform Samjiyon into a model city representing the country's tourism culture. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump has announced the appointment of Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry as the new special envoy to Greenland. Now, the latest move has renewed controversy over Washington's interest in the mineral-rich territory. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
U.S. President Donald Trump has announced the appointment of Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry as the new U.S. Special Envoy to Greenland, reviving controversy over Washington's interest in the vast, mineral-rich Arctic territory. In a statement released Sunday, Trump said Landry understands how critical Greenland is to U.S. national security and will work to advance American interests for the safety and security of U.S. allies. Greenland is a semi-autonomous territory of Denmark, strategically located in the Arctic and rich in rare earth minerals. Trump has repeatedly argued that U.S. control over the island is necessary for national security reasons, both during his presidential transition and in the early months of his return to the White House. He has previously declined to rule out the use of military force to assert U.S. jurisdiction over Greenland, comments that have drawn sharp criticism from Denmark, Greenlandic leaders, and European officials. Following the announcement, Denmark's Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen on Monday said he would once again summon the U.S. Ambassador Kenneth Houry, citing renewed concern over Washington's intentions toward Greenland.
I am very upset about this appointment of a special envoy, and I am particularly upset about the envoy's statements, which we find completely unacceptable.
The appointment also prompted a response from the European Union, which reaffirmed its commitment to the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the Kingdom of Denmark, including Greenland. An EU spokesperson stressed that respect for national borders and sovereignty remains a fundamental principle of the European Union, signaling strong opposition to any challenge to Denmark's control over the Arctic territory.
It is not for me here to comment on U.S. decisions, but what I can say about the EU position is the following, which has been our long-standing position on the matter, that preserving the territorial integrity of the Kingdom of Denmark, its sovereignty, and the inviolability of its borders is essential for the European Union.
The latest developments underscore renewed diplomatic friction between Washington and its European allies as debate over Greenland's future once again moves to the center of international attention. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
U.S. and Ukrainian envoys recently held talks in Florida aimed at ending the war with Russia as part of the Trump administration's months-long push for peace. For more on where things stand, we're joined today by Dr. Ronald Suney, Distinguished University Professor Emeritus of History at the University of Michigan. Dr. Suney, thanks for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
So the United States and Ukraine called the meeting very productive, but were there any real breakthroughs, and what's your assessment of the meeting in Miami?
It's hard to tell, of course, because they don't give you much information, but I would be surprised if there's any breakthroughs. For a long time now, we've been at a stalemate. That is, the positions of Ukraine and the positions of Putin's Russia are so far apart that it's very difficult to imagine any immediate or short-term agreement. On the other hand, there's a lot of pressure from the Trump administration, and generally it's agreed that this administration is siding more with Russia than with Ukraine. So you have Ukraine caught in the middle, Europe backing even more forcefully than ever Ukraine, but the Trump administration trying to get something quickly, some settlement, perhaps to enhance Trump's reputation or possibility for a Nobel Peace Prize, and yet really just supporting and underscoring the positions of Putin's Russia.
Right, and also in Miami, the U.S. also held separate talks with a Russian envoy. Russia initially described the talks as constructive, but on Sunday suddenly dismissed reports of progress. Are the talks still far from reaching an agreement?
That's exactly the point, that it seems we're reading these signals, trying to interpret them, but in fact, it doesn't look like very much progress has been made. Putin's position is clear. He wants all of the Donbass, including those parts of that region that are not yet conquered by Russia. Ukraine wants an immediate ceasefire along the lines that would leave part of the Donbass in Ukrainian hands. That's one of the major issues. But there are others, even more important ones, like the nature of the security guarantees that will be given to Ukraine after a ceasefire and a negotiated settlement occurs. So this is a very difficult thing. I've been using the word tragic to describe the situation because Ukraine is being pressured by the most powerful nation in the world, the United States, to give in to Russia, which is a country, of course, that started the war, has committed war crimes, and is the aggressor in this particular conflict.
Right, and the war's been going on for 4 years, and Ukraine's on the verge of bankruptcy. European countries agreed to provide a massive interest-free loan to Ukraine, to meet its military and economic needs for the next 2 years. How significant is this plan for Ukraine?
It's significant in the sense that much of Europe, not all of Europe, but much of Europe has unified around support for Ukraine, and they've made mammoth efforts to try to secure the funding so that they can buy weapons from the United States. And the United States is essential here because their intelligence services and the weaponry that they can supply at some cost to Ukraine is key to the Ukraine's holding out. But it's time to face the bottom line, the real facts. Ukraine ultimately, sadly, cannot win this war. And Russia, sadly, will never give in and will not allow itself to lose the war. Therefore, the stalemate exists until finally people decide enough is enough, it's time to make peace.
Right, and so not much progress in Miami, but Putin said he's willing to speak with his French counterpart. So if talks between Putin and Macron takes place, could it help move things closer to ending this war?
That, I would say, is the one hopeful sign. Macron was the figure that tried early on when the conflict was heating up and right after the war started to make some kind of adjustment, some kind of agreement with Russia. Then there was a real falling out, and Macron came out strongly against Russia. And now it seems they've opened the door, at least, to talks. So maybe that is the one positive opening that's come out in the last few days. Let's hope so, because this situation, day by day, simply means more people dying, more destruction, largely in Ukraine, and a war that seems to have no happy ending.
Right, hopefully we'll have to see how that goes. All right, Dr. Sooni, thank you so much for your insight today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you.
The weakening Korean won is adding a burden on consumers, especially when buying imported products like beef and coffee. Our Park Jun-an explains more.
The effects of the weakening Korean won are beginning to show in the costs of imports, as while year-on-year import prices fell by more than 2% on a contractual currency basis, they rose by over 2% when calculated in Korean won. According to the Bank of Korea Economic Statistics System on Sunday, the import price index for November shows that with 2020 set as 100, import prices on a contractual currency basis rose by just over 18% as of November 2025. However, when those same price changes are converted into Korean won, the increase jumps to nearly 42%. This widening gap highlights how exchange rate movements add pressure to Korea's import costs. When looking at the $1 exchange rate, the amount of won needed to buy $1 now stands at around 1,481. That marks an increase of 7.63% over the past 6 months and a rise of 34.3% over the past 5 years. South Korea imports nearly 100% of key staples such as coffee, corn, wheat, and soybeans, making it vulnerable to currency fluctuations. Notably, the import price index for coffee stood at 379.71 in won terms last month, compared with 307.12 in dollar terms, underscoring how the weak won amplifies costs. Over the past 5 years, dollar-based coffee prices have tripled due to climate-driven supply shortages, but in won terms, they have nearly quadrupled, rising nearly 280% since 2020. Beef has also risen by over 60% in the same period, compared to an increase of around 30% on a contractual currency basis.
Even when buying the same amount, imports inevitably cost more when the exchange rate rises, pushing up import prices and ultimately fueling inflation. Compared with other G7 countries, South Korea is more sensitive to exchange rate swings and raw material price increases due to its heavy reliance on imports.
Meanwhile, the Bank of Korea's analysis shows that if the $1 rate persists around the 1,471 level, inflation could exceed its 2.1% forecast and rise to the mid-2% range. Park Jun-an, Arirang News.
South Korea has unveiled its roadmap for human missions to Mars. Eyes are now on whether the country can move beyond the moon and set its sights on the red planet within the next 2 decades. Our Tae-Yeon reports.
The Korea Aerospace Administration has revealed its mid to long-term Mars exploration roadmap spanning 20 years through 2045. Rather than attempting a single, all-at-once mission to Mars, this roadmap focuses on gradually accumulating technologies step by step from orbital insertion to landing and surface exploration using domestically developed capabilities. As an initial step, plans are underway to launch a Mars orbiter using the Nuri rocket and next-generation launch systems. In addition, technologies for exploring and utilizing resources on Mars will be developed, along with energy supply systems and the technologies needed to support crewed exploration and the establishment of habitation infrastructure.
At the end of last November, the first space transportation capability, developed in cooperation with the private sector, was secured.
However, since significant gaps still remain between Korea and leading countries in terms of technology, budget, and manpower, international cooperation is essential. Accordingly, the plan is to take part in international exploration projects in order to demonstrate domestic technologies at an early stage and contribute to global missions. Through these efforts, the goal is to secure a Mars orbiter by the mid-2030s and to complete landing and robotic exploration missions around 2045. Mars is rapidly emerging as a central arena in the competition for space leadership. Through KASA's Mars roadmap, South Korea aims to rise into the ranks of the world's top 5 space powers. 차윤경, 아리랑 뉴스.
Good morning, I'm Chu Ji-hyun, and this is The World Now. The Trump administration on Monday suspended leases for 5 offshore wind projects under construction off the U.S. East Coast, citing national security risks. The Interior Department said the pause is effective immediately and will give it time to work with the Defense Department and other agencies on mitigating risks. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum warned that evolving adversary technologies and offshore turbines near population centers could create vulnerabilities. The pause comes 2 weeks after a federal judge struck down Trump's executive order blocking wind development as unlawful. In Moscow, a bomb planted under a car has killed Russian Lieutenant General Fanil Sarvarov. Russia's investigative committee said that an explosive device detonated underneath his car on Monday morning, and it is pursuing multiple lines of inquiry, including possible orchestration by Ukrainian intelligence services. Sarvarov served as the head of the General Staff's Operational Training Directorate and was a veteran of campaigns in Chechnya and Syria. He is the third high-ranking military officer to be killed in a bombing in the Moscow region in just over a year. While Ukraine has not commented on this specific attack, President Zelensky previously noted that, quote, justice inevitably comes for top Russian figures. In Japan, a regional vote on Monday cleared the final hurdle for Japan to restart the world's largest nuclear power plant. Niigata Prefecture's decision allows operator TEPCO to reactivate the first of 7 reactors at the Kashiwazaki-Kariwa power plant as early as January 20th. The historic pivot back to nuclear energy comes nearly 15 years after the Fukushima disaster. Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi is pushing the restart to slash soaring fossil fuel import costs and meet the massive electricity demands of new AI data centers. Hundreds of protesters gathered in the cold to protest the decision. British singer-songwriter Chris Rea, best known for Driving Home for Christmas, has died aged 74. A family statement said he died in hospital on Monday after a short illness. The singer rose to fame in the 1980s and had 2 #1 albums in the UK. His 1986 classic Driving Home for Christmas remains one of the most played festive tracks, consistently returning to the UK music charts every December.
We're getting a brief pause from the cold today. That said, you'll want to keep an umbrella handy. Rain started in the west will spread nationwide through the afternoon with 5 to 20 millimeters in the forecast through Wednesday morning. Meanwhile, mountainous regions in Gangwon-do province will see snow instead with up to 5 centimeters of snowfall. Once the rain clears, winter makes a sharp comeback. From Christmas Day, temperatures drop quickly, and by Friday, we are looking at lows near minus 12 degrees Celsius here in the capital, but it's going to feel like minus 20 degrees along with the biting winds. But for this afternoon, despite the rain, temperatures will remain comfortable. Seoul gets up to 5 degrees, but Busan will be topping out at 15 degrees Celsius. Christmas Day itself looks mostly clear nationwide, but snow or rain may linger along the west coast of Jeollado and on Jeju Island. But for today, enjoy the milder temperatures along with rainfall.
That's all we have for this morning. Arirang News will be back at noon Korea time. Thanks for watching.
저희 제품은 배틀로프의 단점을 보완한 제품, 좀 더 간편하고 쉽게 이 고강도 트레이닝을 할 수 있는 방법이 무엇이 있을까 하고 이 저희 지로프를 개발하게 되었죠.
와, 그러면 배틀로프의 그 엑기스만 딱 뽑아가지고 이거를 개발한 거네요.
네, 맞습니다.
야.
Battle ropes, the secret training of the world's strongest America's Olympic athletes. The legendary ultimate full-body high-intensity workout. But wait, too much space needed, too heavy, and way too noisy. Let's bring those downsides down and level up the workout effect. Introducing Z-Subs Zero. Light, small, compact, and you can enjoy it anytime, anywhere. A 3-in-1 training tool that builds muscle, stamina, and endurance all at once. It delivers workout effects that surpass battle ropes. Trusted quality, made in Korea. Shh, stronger, smaller, and quieter.
We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you is Tuesday, December 23rd here in Seoul. I'm Lee Soo-jin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Brooke.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in. Also, Kim's with us today.
Good morning.
Good morning. Both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So it's the second day of the week, and today we're diving into a topic that's probably on many people's minds, especially in the mornings. Coffee. So whether it's to kickstart your day or to keep you going during a busy afternoon, coffee is a daily ritual for many of us. So let's talk coffee. So whether you're a latte lover, espresso enthusiast, or just someone who enjoys a simple black brew, we all have our favorite. So Brooke, what about you? Do you like coffee? If so, what's your favorite type of coffee?
I do like coffee. I would say that I prefer to get my caffeine from energy drinks. But when it comes to coffee, I like a hint of the coffee flavor in my dessert in a cup. That's what my friends call whatever I get at the cafe. Usually I'm that person who orders the cafe mocha or caramel macchiato, something sweet. Today I'm enjoying a goguma latte, which is a sweet potato latte. Does not have any coffee in it, so I don't think any authentic coffee drinker would call me a coffee drinker. But I do like the flavor. I don't think I fit in with the Korean coffee culture where everyone wants iced Americano, right? In fact, anytime I'm in some sort of group order, it's just a list of and means iced Americano in Korean. And then whatever chocolatey sweet concoction I get just sticks out like a sore thumb. So that's my take on coffee, but I'm still happy to be here and talk about it.
I agree. I think a lot of, especially men in Korea, tend to drink iced Americano exclusively.
Sure.
So what about you, Kim?
Yeah, being a man in Korea, I'm having my morning iced Americano or yeah, I am a coffee lover as well, and my go-to coffee will be obviously iced Americano, even on a very cold day like today. But lately I've become kind of more interested in like high quality, like really not so expensive, but great coffee beans that from Africa, which is also a great place where they produce like one of the highest quality coffee beans. So thanks to my brother, he came back from a business trip and he bought me coffee beans from Rwanda.
Wow.
And I'm like, Rwanda? But then I found out that they produce one of the best high quality coffee beans. So at home, I would actually have my hot Americano when I have the time to relax and have my pour over black coffee, and to really get to really enjoy the actual experience of having hot coffee, you know, sip by sip, really tasting the aroma and the smell as well.
Yeah, right.
But when I'm outside on the go working, just like today, the easier and like the quicker option will be the iced Americano, where I can just quickly get my kick of caffeine right in the morning to wake me up. So I do appreciate both, but I guess being a still MZer, I do prefer my iced Americano over hot coffees.
What would you say is the difference between those coffee beans from Rwanda versus just normal ones?
Oh, well, if you'll know it if you actually try it.
I see.
It smells different and it tastes different.
Like
and
richer?
you're like, much richer, and you're like, oh, maybe this is the main difference. Like, I'm not saying like the cheaper ones don't taste good, but once you try the real expensive, high quality beans, you're like,
Can't go back.
You can't go, but you're like, this is a reason why people indulge it so much. You know, they put in so much time and effort and even money to have these coffees.
I've always wondered, people say there is a big difference.
There is a
between
big
those
difference,
premium blends and then those budget-friendly ones, but it's interesting. So we're gonna dive deeper into this topic, but first, let's take a look at the screen. Many people start their day with a cup of coffee. It's more than just a drink. It's a little boost of energy that helps them power through the day. And just like our personalities, everyone's coffee preferences are different. Some like it ice cold, even in the middle of winter, while others prefer it decaffeinated. Today on News Generation, we're taking a closer look at Korea's coffee culture, how people choose their coffee, the unique habits and trends, and what makes Korea's coffee scene unique. As we just saw in a video, coffee in Korea isn't just about the drink itself. It's much more than that. It's a part of daily life, a social ritual, and even a way to express personal preferences. So whether it's catching up with friends at a cafe or grabbing a quick cup before heading into work, coffee is woven into the fabric of Korean culture. But what's really interesting is a trend we're seeing among young Koreans, especially when it comes to iced coffee, which you mentioned in the beginning of the show. So, Keen, why do you think young Koreans enjoy iced coffee even in the winter months? And you said you do as well.
It's including myself. Young Koreans really enjoy iced coffee throughout the year. And they were even coined the word 얼주가, which basically means you would have iced coffee even on freezing days when you would actually freeze to death. So even in cold days, as you see on the screen, people would hold their iced coffees with like padded jackets on. And to back this trend, surveys show that almost 60% of young Korean MZers prefer to have iced coffee regardless of the season and weather. And when asked why they chose this cold coffee over hot coffee, they said it was a better drink to wake them up in the morning, and it really helped them right before they actually started studying. And it was really good when they needed to really concentrate a lot during work or even study. And I am an 얼주가 as well, having these cold drinks even in winter, cold days. And also some famous K-pop stars have come out as 얼주gas as well, and they really garnered more attention from overseas fans, obviously, mostly. And they was thinking, oh, what is this ice? Why are they so crazy about iced Americanos? And they started actually looking into it, drinking more, whereas I guess in overseas, hot coffee, black coffee is more common drink for coffee. Like you don't see many people drinking iced coffee in overseas, especially in Australia. Of course in Australia as well, but I think it's just a kind of like a Korean trend as well. They like to have the cold drink because we get stressed a lot at work. It gets heated.
I also tend to drink iced coffee too, so maybe that's why. I guess and people say it's a go-to for staying alert and focused. And speaking of trends, I've also noticed more decaf options in cafes, which makes me happy as someone who can't drink coffee to see these options available. So is it true? Are more young Koreans drinking more decaf?
Yes, that is in fact true. About 1 out of 3 Korean millennial and Gen Z coffee drinkers chooses decaffeinated coffee. And there are reasons for this. For people like you who might be sensitive to caffeine, drinking coffee can give them the jitters, that it causes these unpleasant side effects like heart palpitations or difficulty sleeping. So decaf coffee lets them enjoy the taste and aroma of coffee as well as the atmosphere of the cafe without having to deal with those issues. And so to appeal to those customers, nowadays most cafes in Korea are offering decaf options on their menus, which I think is great, especially because in Korean culture we have something called icha, right? Where you finish your dinner or whatever activity you're doing and then you go somewhere else, and oftentimes that is a cafe. And so if it's the evening, you don't want to have a cup of coffee that's caffeinated, you'll be staying up all night. So now with these decaf options, you can still enjoy a cafe without the sleeping issues that come with it.
So as a decaf fan myself, I love how it lets people enjoy the taste and aroma of coffee without worrying about caffeine keeping me up or making my heart race. I'm also glad that cafes now widely offer decaf options for those who want them. And to highlight coffee that's uniquely Korean this time, Kyun, Korea is famous for its instant coffee mix. So can you tell us a bit about its history?
Right, so it dates back to 1976 when a company invented a one-serving coffee stick package that consisted of small portion of ground coffee, sugar, and cream powder. So it was an instant all-in-one coffee mix, as you see on the screen. Just rip the head off and just pour it into the cup and just add hot water. That's all you need to do. It became a huge hit because it reflected the 빨리빨리, meaning quick culture of Koreans, where they didn't have the patience and time to add one ingredient at a time. So they just needed everything in just one go very quickly. And because of its popularity, in 2017, the Ministry of Intellectual Property selected the mixed coffee sticks as 5th from 10 greatest inventions in Korea. And I guess like even a couple of years ago, a lot of people considered people who drank these mixed coffees as 아재, meaning middle-aged men. But the story is very different now. A lot of young people have jumped on this new trend of enjoying these mixed coffees because it's not as, I guess, bitter or sour as the real coffee beans. It's a lot sweeter and milder in the sense that it doesn't taste too like
bitter.
Right. So it's I guess if you people who like sweet things, this is a great menu. Yeah, like Brooke. And now we're seeing more of these coffee menu items in many cafe franchises, showing its rising popularity of coffee sticks again.
I had it for the first time actually last year. I was kind of skeptical about it, but then I had it. It was actually really good. It is quite sweet. It's quite also addicting.
Oh, maybe
as well.
I would like it.
I feel like you would enjoy if you like sweet things as well. So there's also, it's really popular within Korea, but do you think it's popular outside of Korea?
Yes, apparently it is quite popular overseas. It's one of the most common souvenirs that foreigners buy when they visit Korea, and many expats living here also purchase it locally just to drink it at home. Now, if you take a look at the screen, we're going to show you some numbers related to this. By September of this year, exports of Korean coffee products, including mixed coffee, reached $283 million, which is a 16% increase compared to the same period last year when it was roughly $244 million. And in fact, as you're seeing here, mixed coffee was ranked as the most delicious drink foreigners tried in Korea. 53% of respondents chose mixed coffee as their favorite, and that beat out shikhae, which is a traditional sweet Korean rice beverage, at 26%, meishil tea made from fermented green plums at 11%, yulmu tea, which is made from roasted and ground jobs tears, at 6%, and sujeonghwa, or cinnamon punch, at 4%.
So it's amazing to see mixed coffee outshine traditional drinks like shikhae, the traditional Korean sweet rice drink, or meishil tea, the green plum fruit drink, abroad. So we wanted to also find out what you thought too about this. So we asked on the Arirang News YouTube channel, which Korean coffee trend is your favorite? So here's what the results showed. Iced Americano takes the lead with 49% enjoying it all year around. Instant mixed coffee follows closely at 22%, while 9% prefer decaffeinated coffee. The remaining 20% either have other favorites or don't have a particular preference. So it's truly interesting to see Iced Americano actually at the top. So even in the winter, it looks like young Koreans are really sticking with their favorite cold coffee. And instant mixed coffee is also holding strong too, showing that classic flavors aren't going anywhere. It's nice to see decaf getting some love for those who want the taste without the caffeine kick. So to get a more in-depth view on this, we're going to talk to a cafe owner here in Korea. And that conversation will come right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out channel Arirang News. Click Posts and cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
Joining us today is Peter, an owner of an Australia-themed cafe here in Korea. So hi, Peter. Thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me back.
So I've always wanted to ask this to a cafe owner. So what is your favorite type of coffee?
So if it's during the week time when I don't have much time, I'll normally have a hot latte or a cappuccino, something like that. But if I'm on the weekend, it's normally something pretty nice, like in our cafe we call it a hoju latte. It's an iced latte with ice cream on top. Pretty good.
Wow, that sounds delicious and like something I would like to try. My question for you is, what's a signature coffee of Australia, and is there something unique about its coffee culture?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure you guys are aware that Australian coffee culture is pretty world-renowned. One of probably the two things I can think of as pretty common is we call it a flat white. It's a little bit smaller sized latte. So it's a bit more stronger flavor and it's a bit more nicer. But then also, like I said, the hoju latte that we have here is also something pretty popular in Australia as well. I think those are the main things that I would say are very common. But also hot coffees, like you guys were talking about earlier, was pretty popular as well.
Yeah, so I remember we used to call it long black back in Australia, long black and flat whites. So what do you think is special about the Korean coffee culture compared to, I guess, Australia or other countries from your experience?
So what I've realized, well, being in operating this cafe here is like Koreans like a lot of unique things. Like in Australia, you would just be like a hot coffee with milk, like a cappuccino, latte. There wouldn't be too many hot cold drinks options normally. But here it seems like there's a lot more, like you were referring to earlier, a lot of iced coffee, a lot of like unique flavors like the gugama lattes, a lot of teas are drunk as well at the cafes. And I noticed that we've got it here now. We've got low caffeine coffee, which is a bit of a unique sort of thing to probably Korea as well. So it's not as strong as like a normal coffee, but it's not as weak as a normal decaf, which is pretty interesting to see that a few people seem to be enjoying that sort of trend now.
As someone who enjoys decaffeinated coffee, I think that's something I'd also want to check out as well. So anyways, thank you so much for joining us today.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
So we just talked to a cafe owner here in Korea who gave us some great insights into both Australia's and Korea's local coffee culture. But when it comes to what drives coffee choices here, it seems there is a clear difference between the generations. So Kyun, what are the factors that Koreans considered when choosing their coffee?
So just to talk about people in their 20s and 30s, beginning with people in their 20s, 70% of those in their 20s, students being majority of them, said affordable price is the key factor when choosing their coffees. Now, those in their 30s who I guess have a bit more economic stability compared to those in their 20s, 48% said taste and quality is the most important, while 45% responded saying accessibility of cafes is the key factor. So, which I can very much relate to. Other than high quality and great taste of coffees, it has to be very accessible. Even though we live in a city where you can see pretty much cafes in every single building, you need to have one on the first floor of the building you're in, which is here as well in Arirang. There's a cafe on the first floor. It becomes very accessible. I mean, we can obviously take the time to walk about 5 minutes or a couple of blocks to find a great specialty coffee place. But if there's one franchise cafe downstairs that's like, what, a couple of seconds away, I think many people, including myself, in their 30s would actually choose that coffee shop instead of, I guess, traveling a bit more to get their, I guess, the better quality coffee.
Makes sense.
I think you do definitely see this, especially during the week. I think people like, cafes are closer to them and also like more budget friendly. So it's interesting to see how price plays a key role. So speaking of, let's now talk about the cultural aspect of coffee choices here in Korea. So how much do you think of Korea's known for its very fast-paced culture? We mentioned the 빨리빨리 culture earlier. How much does that influence coffee preferences here?
Well, I think that definitely there's the, 빨리빨리 culture that shapes coffee drinking behaviors. But I think I want to let Gi-hoon talk a little bit more about this.
Yes, like I mentioned earlier, the quick culture has shaped coffee drinking behaviors of Koreans. So instead of enjoying their hot coffee sip by sip over food or snacks in a really relaxing atmosphere, I think Koreans prefer the cold version so they can immediately get the caffeine kick through their straws. I've seen a lot of men, including myself, as soon as we order our iced coffee, we will drink almost half of the iced coffee in just one gulp, one sip. It just shows how it really reflects our culture, even in the drinking scene as well. Like, we don't take our time drinking. Like, we want to get in there, get the food, get the drinks, get drunk as soon as we can, and then move to each other second round. So I think it really reflects our, I guess, working culture or just our social behaviors in general. And I think the same theory applies to the mixed coffee sticks, which is much more convenient. It saves time. All you need to do is just rip the head off, pour it into a cup and just add hot water, and that's it. You've made your coffee. It's very different to how a lot of real coffee lovers would take their time to actually, pour their hot water over those hand-drip coffees and just enjoy that experience. So it's very different here in Korea.
So when people appreciate the quick, efficient, and on-the-go coffee culture is reflected in their coffee preferences as well. And speaking of coffee culture, many people recommend visiting Korean cafes, not just for the coffee, but for the experience itself. So Brooke, to close off our discussion today, what aspect of Korea's coffee scene would you recommend to foreigners?
Well, I agree with you. I think Korean cafes are not just places to drink coffee. If you walk into them, you will see the aesthetics are beautiful. There will be young people taking pictures. So they're famous for having this great atmosphere, to the point where people even use the term cafe tour as if they're visiting tourist destinations. So what it means is you can go into some cafes and watch the actual behind the scenes coffee roasting process. And many of these cafes offer a wide variety of premium beans if you're more of a coffee connoisseur like our Ki-hoon here. And I will say, as a former student, I recommend settling into one of these local cafes and enjoying some drinks and pastries while you study. That is one of the favorite pastimes of many young Koreans. It'll really give you a taste of that Korean coffee culture. And for sure, if you're planning a trip to Korea, I would definitely pencil in some cafe touring. Just find some that match your personal preferences. Look at many of the pictures online and add it to your itineraries so that you can experience Korean coffee culture for yourself.
So as we've seen today, coffee in Korea is more than just a drink. It's almost become a cultural experience that's constantly evolving. So whether it's the fast-paced convenience of iced coffee or the growing appreciation for premium blends, coffee culture here reflects the lifestyles of each generation. It's clear that there is so much to enjoy. So the next time you're in Korea, make sure to explore the local coffee scene. So whether you're grabbing a quick iced Americano or sailing in for a cafe tour, there's always something new to discover. So that brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation. But News Gen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time with more stories and discussions. A big thanks to Brooke.
Thank you. It was great to be here.
Also, Kyun.
Always a pleasure.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you have the best day. We are
News Generation.